Hi everyone, this is a bit of a different topic this time. We're going to talk about renovations. I'm currently renovating a bathroom and you might be curious about a product that we call RedGuard. And this is what gives this signature color to my walls right now. This is a waterproofing membrane that you just roll on your walls and that provide you with a waterproofing that you would typically require when you build a shower, just like this one. So let's take a look at this product and I'll show you how it's going. It's very easy to put on, a very good DIY project. I'll show you how that's going on my end. Alright, so let's take a look at the product itself. It comes in this bucket. This is a small pail that's a gallon, right? 1 US gallon. Read the instructions, but it's very easy to use. This gives you a pretty good coverage. In fact, the coverage is mentioned on the back here. This is like super tiny, but it will give you the coverage in this little table, right? So if you are looking at a waterproofing membrane, this gallon should give you 56 square feet of coverage. So it's very small. Can't really show you. That's actually in French. Let me show you the English version. So that's about 3.7 square meters, right? So that's far enough for what I'm doing here. From what I've read on the topic, you need at least 2 coats. I have put 2 coats already on my wall here, and I'm just putting a 3rd one just to be on the safe side. This gallon is particularly hard to open, and you'll see that the product is actually pretty weird. So it's got this very distinctive color, and you can see actually that when it's wet it goes on pink, and then as it dries it turns red, right? This dark red, and that's what you see on my walls at the moment. But the product itself is this kind of a bubblegum gooey texture, and it's kind of a little bit unsettling at first because I would have expected this to be a little bit more liquid, but it's actually very easy to roll on. So I'm just going to use this little roller. That's all you need, really. I'm not even using a little plastic tray here. I'm not even using this because ultimately you can easily roll into the pail directly, and it's been working pretty well for me. So I'll just put my roller into a plastic bag because I knew I would be reusing it. Just gonna take it out. The only thing that I've noticed is that, so this is a typical, paint roller kit that you find at Home Depot. That was like $8, right? So it's very inexpensive. The only thing that you need to be careful about is not to put too much of the RedGuard product around your axle here, right? Because it will gum up and ultimately you won't be able to roll on your walls anymore. So just be mindful of this. I'll show you how that goes onto the walls because I'm going to put another coat on, and I'll start from the bottom. It's important to try not to put the product on your shower base. For instance, this is an acrylic base. It comes off pretty easily, but depending on the substrate or depending on the surface that this actually goes on, it's recommended that you actually take it out right away if you put some of that stuff in places it's not supposed to go. Right, so just keep that in mind. So let's take a look at the actual roll-on process. I'm just going to readjust the camera real quick. There you go. And I'm going to do just the bottom here, so you'll see it's super easy. You roll it in, and you can tell it's very sticky, right? It's got this kind of gooey texture, like I said earlier. So it's kind of a weird, it's a weird product, really, but it goes on super easily. And you apply it on your wall, and you just roll it on. So in this case, and be careful because it doesn't even roll nicely because it's so thick that it kind of glides on the surface. Ultimately, it starts rolling. You can actually hear the difference here. And you just apply a nice coat on. So don't be shy. Put a nice little coat, right? Don't stretch it too thin. Again, the idea here is that you actually create a waterproofing membrane, right? You just roll it on. Similar to when you do roofing, you would be using an asphalt based, or you can use a rubber based type of membrane that comes on with a roller. This is kind of the same concept, and you might actually notice some differences in the different colors on my wall right now. That's because of the substrate that's behind it. I have backer board behind this, so it's waterproofing, a waterproof cement board. Depending on what you put on, you will have different colors. I did use some regular mud to do the seams with some fiberglass ribbon on my seams, and I used some regular mud, which was white, and that's the reason why you see some areas that are actually whiter than others. But ultimately, when you put the first coat on, you should roll one way. The second coat on goes the other way, and I'm putting a third coat on, which I'm rolling the same way as the first coat, and that basically ensures that you have coverage in all the little crevices and little areas that need to be covered. So very important with this product, make sure that you actually go into the seams and the corners, because ultimately you want to create this waterproofing resistance, and it's very critical that you actually have a consistent coat, right? So if you have low walls, and if your surface is porous, or if you have some tiny walls or tiny areas that you notice looking up close are not covered, make sure that you cover every single spot, right? And especially in this particular shower, I have a niche, so a little alcove where all the shower products will go. You want to make sure this is actually properly waterproofed. Ultimately, it's just an additional, it's mandatory really when you think about it, but it's an additional protection in case your grout would be porous, or if you would have water sipping in between your tiles. That provides the waterproofing on your wall, which is also technically waterproof, right? So that really ensures that you have proper waterproofing protection for your shower. So I'm just gonna roll this on. I will speed up that part of the video because it's not really super exciting, but that's gonna take me a little while to go over it, and yeah, I'll resume later. So in the niche here, it's particularly important to make sure you have good coverage. So make sure you go in every single of the angles. I'm actually going to put a little bit more here, especially at the bottom. Obviously, there could be some water accumulation at the bottom. Normally, and as you always should really when you build a niche like that, you really want this to be sloped towards the outside, or towards the inside of the shower, towards the outside of the niche, and that's to prevent water from pooling in this area, which again could create some issues down the road where the water could actually ultimately seep in if you don't have proper waterproofing. So this is particularly important for this area. I've actually put at least 4 coats here, possibly even 5. And that's for that very reason, right? Is you want to make sure that this is properly sealed. So just keep that in mind, right? If you have a shower, or if you have a bench, or if you have any kind of structure, in your shower, make sure that you spend some extra time in this particular area. Also, one more note, try not to put that stuff on your skin or on your hands. It actually is quite sticky and it's hard to take out. So they actually suggest to use gloves, like natural gloves or vinyl latex if you're not allergic, and just make sure you wear proper protection to do this, because it is pretty sticky. It is some sort of a rubbery membrane at the end, so it will adhere pretty well on whatever you put this on. Surprisingly, when you touch it, it's got this, it's got sort of a grit to it, right? And I will get back to this at the end of the video, because you need to be careful about what you will be using as a mortar to actually put your tiles on this. It's a bit of a different type of mortar. If you use your standard mortar, you will run into problems because this requires a specific type of mortar to put your tiles on top of it. So just keep that in mind. It's obviously very important if you don't want your entire shower project to turn into a total failure because your tiles are falling off. There are actual warnings on the bucket that states that you should be using the right type of mortar when you install your tiles. So obviously something really important to keep in mind. As you can tell, I'm really not sparing the product. I have a lot of it, and I should really be using a good portion of this bucket for this project. This is about 2.5 meters tall, 8 feet, right? 8 feet by 8 feet. This is about 1 meter, a little less than a meter here, 36 inches, 32 inches here. So I should be using a pretty good part of this bucket, probably about half of it. Surprisingly, right now I haven't even come close to this. I don't know why, but I think with 3 coats I should be pretty safe on the amount of product that I'm actually putting on the walls. So I will probably stick to that, and I should be fine. I mean, you need to do a close inspection, and you really want to do a close inspection of your walls. Make sure that you don't see any little pits or any little holes or any cavity or anything that could be created because of the nature of the wall you're drawing this on. As long as you do this and you have a seamless and consistent and smooth surface that doesn't show any holes or any gaps, you'll be okay, right? So I think I just will have some left over of that product, which is fine because I will probably have more projects down the road that could be using this product. So as I said earlier, the product, as you can tell, is pink in the bucket, and as you roll it on and as it dries out, it turns red, this pretty bright red, right? So definitely something to keep in mind. If you keep rolling on the same area as the first layer actually dried out, you will see that it's going to turn pink again. So it's a good system because it really allows you to see where you applied the product and where you haven't yet, right? But as you can tell, it's a pretty quick process, right? So I'm just going to grab my little stool here. That particular corner, I'm almost applying it as a ribbon of or bead of caulking, right? So that ensures that there is product and waterproofing into the seam of my two walls, and that's a particular, it's an important area, right? Because your grout will not get to that section normally. You will actually end up having caulking in that particular corner. Just to factor in any kind of material or expansion of the material that you're using, you normally never grout that corner, right? You put some caulking in there. So in this particular case, having the waterproofing membrane also applied in a similar fashion is probably not a bad idea, because it's kind of rubbery in texture, as I mentioned earlier, and that allows for not only proper waterproofing, but it also allows for the contraction and expansion of the material in that particular corner. Obviously the upper area is probably not as critical as the bottom, because you will never get any kind of water accumulation up here, but at the same time you do have some water vapor and steam that typically gets towards the top of the shower, so you want to have waterproofing all over, obviously, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying not to get too close to my ceiling, which is white, and I run out of masking tape, unfortunately. Otherwise I probably would have used that, save me the trouble. But yeah, again, towards the very, very top, it doesn't really matter as much, right? Because my tiles will come all the way up to the ceiling. So there you go, that's pretty much done. Again, it's a very easy process, very quick. I'm stopping right at the edge here where my shower wall will be. There will be a aluminum frame shower that's going to go there with the door on the front. So I don't need to go beyond that, really. My tiles will extend a little bit and will be probably lined up with a base. I'm still yet to do that, but that's the next step. So I might actually put even another coat tomorrow, I'll see, just to be on the safe side, but as far as this is concerned, that's pretty much done. So as you can tell, it's very simple, right? I try to keep the area here clean. Put it in a little plastic bag or a little Ziploc if you have one. If you want to reuse it, you might want to keep your roller a little wet so that it doesn't actually dry out. But this actually was, this one was actually in this little plastic bag for a copper base, and it didn't, really move. I have a piece of tape on it, a masking tape that I'm going to reuse, and I'll actually put another coat tomorrow. Make sure this is wet, right? You want your roller to be wet, similar to when you're doing paint, so that it doesn't dry out too quickly. And try to actually roll it onto itself here a little bit. There you go. So you want to squeeze as much air out of this as you can. There you go, done. So that can be reused now. I'm going to take this out. There's a bit of a smell with that product, so it's not necessarily pleasant. In fact, they highly suggest that you have a proper ventilation and aeration in the space that you're painting, simply because at the end, it is a chemical product, right? So you want to make sure you're not breathing this for too long, and make sure you close your palette back correctly. Right? So I will talk in a moment about what I'm using as the mortar of a thin set to actually put the tiles on. It's very important that you actually use the proper one again, because otherwise if you use the wrong one, the thin set will not be able to cure, will not be able to dry out, because this is waterproof, right? So the water that's going to actually get out of your thin set as it cures will have nowhere to go, and it's going to take weeks to dry out if it ever does, right? And you will actually not get a proper adhesion to the substrate or to your walls. So you need to use a specific type. I think it's unmodified. I will take a look because I have the bag in the next room and give you some pointers on this. That's advice that I got directly from the store that I got the product from, and they insisted that I had to use that one and not the regular one. So yeah, that's pretty much it, right? Even if you have some little imperfections or drips or, you know, it's fine, right? Because ultimately you will have your thin set on top of this, which is typically an eighth. So you'll be fine. You even if you have some imperfections, that's completely acceptable. Yeah, so we're ready to move to almost to the next phase. I might put another coat on tomorrow and then move to the actual tiling phase. So I hope this was helpful. I will add a little comment about the thin set so that you know which one I'm using and the one that I was recommended. Following up on the RedGuard review, I wanted to touch on the mortar that was suggested to use to install your tiles on top of the waterproofing membrane. This is the product that I was recommended. Bought this from Home Depot. It's not that expensive, and it's also made by Custom, right? And that's really usually the best guarantee that the products will work together is when they're made by the same company. It's called Megalite. This is apparently more of a large format tile mortar. The tiles I'm installing are smaller. They're picket tiles, so they're about 13 inches long by 3 inches wide. But the actual mortar itself can be used for a number of different applications. In this case, as you will see actually on this screenshot, it needs to meet some requirements, some ANSI requirements. If you look at the spec sheet of that particular product, it does actually meet or exceed these requirements. So this product is actually great when it comes to installing this on the RedGuard membrane. Very similar to your normal products or thin sets, right? So all the instructions are on the back, very easy to use, and you have the guarantee that the tiles will actually adhere to the RedGuard membrane, which is really what you need to pay special attention to. Be very careful, right? Make sure you use the right product. Again, I suggest using this one. This is the one I was recommended, made by Custom, which is the same company that makes the RedGuard, and you should be pretty safe on installing your tiles and completing your shower projects. So good luck with that. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know, and hope to see you soon again for another video. Bye for now.